Good morning and welcome to Shadowrun Week here on Gaming with ADHD. As it's Miniature Monday, we are going to be taking a look at the Prime Runners miniature set from Catalyst Game Labs. This set of 5 figures was released by Catalyst in 2019 along with the Sixth World edition of Shadowrun and features 5 characters from the current era. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you to make sure you're subscribed to the channel so as to not miss anything. I'll be posting a new Shadowrun video every day and even doing a couple of live streams, so make sure that you don't miss any of it. Now, let's get started. So, to start off with, this is the Prime Runners pack. It is a window box, so you get to see the figures in the package as as you're looking to purchase it, but obviously you can only see them from one side. So let's open it up, take a look at these, and then I will actually put these on my 360 spin table so that you can get a better look at all of the models. So let's zoom in here a little bit. Alright, so first off we have Hardpoint, the Dwarf Rigger, Gentry, the Human Decker, Blanco, the Troll Weapon Specialist, Koidog, Elf Shaman, and Sledge, the Orc Street Samurai. Now, these are all pre-assembled, and overall the quality seems nice. The detail, as you'll see here in just a moment, is actually pretty good. Let's see here. This one. Alright, so let's start off by looking at Hardpoint. So, as you can see, we have our Dwarf Rigger, and he's got a couple of drones. There's the flying drone up above, but there's also a little bug drone right there. I like what they're doing here. I think it's really hard to represent a rigger sometimes, especially when you're dealing with an individual figure, because representing either the drones or the vehicle can be a little bit difficult, but I think they've caught it well enough. The detail on the face, the detail on the base, they're not quite as nice as I would like. As you can see there on the side of the little helicopter drone, that's missing a little bit of detail. But overall, I think it represents it pretty well. I'm kind of excited. I'm actually excited to paint all of these up just to try it out. I've been doing some painting lately, although I am horribly, adequate, we will say. But I want to try something a little bit different. I do need to figure out how to get the pose on the hover drone lifted up a little bit, but I figure that'll come. So that is Hardpoint, the Dwarf Rigger. So let's switch over to Gentry. Now, all of these do come on a base that's about 1.25 inches across. So it's a little bigger than your standard 1 inch that you would see on like a Chessex map or a lot of the pre-printed like dungeon tiles, things like that. So the bases are a little large. I kind of wish they were a little bit smaller, but they're also not so big that you can't adjust with these. Now, as far as this guy's concerned, I really like what they did here. The thing there in his hand, basically it's a representation of, his head-up display for augmented reality, how he's interacting with the Matrix from from this virtual environment. Obviously, this is a big change with modern Shadowrun because deckers are no longer required to hardwire in. So obviously, that's going to remove the cyber deck. A lot of them have moved down to comlinks, which are a lot smaller, a lot easier to conceal. So, how to represent one of the iconic types of characters in Shadowrun, the decker. And I really like how they did that. I like the effect. It will be interesting to try and paint that up. But overall, I like what they did. Also, the head-up goggles, things like that, to also kind of represent, how he's interacting with the tech. But that is Gentry, and, pretty good. Now, all of these are also a PVC plastic, so it's not a hard plastic like you would see in your more typical models. On the screen now, we've got Blanco, the troll weapon specialist. But even still, I think you get enough detail. I think they look really good. They capture enough detail. The detail could be a little bit sharper, but overall, I don't think it really loses anything. Especially here on the troll, you can see the straps on his back, the rivets, the texturing on the horns. I think they actually did a really good job at capturing what you typically think of for a troll. But we will get to that here in a second. Overall, I like the fact that they put in a guy with a giant gun. Overall, this is probably the model I'm most excited to get painted up. So that is Blanco. Next up, we've got Koidog, the elf shaman. Now, this one, they did sort of a similar effect to what they did with Gentry, where she's clearly casting some sort of a spell, and they found some way to represent the magic being generated. So it sort of has kind of these Doctor Strange sort of discs, we'll call it, the magic discs that he seems to generate. Not saying that's where they got it from. I'm just saying it, sort of reminds me of that, and I think does give it an interesting look. The detail is washed out a little bit on the face, so that's going to be interesting to see how it paints up. But overall, just looks like a young street shaman, and should be kind of interesting. All right, and then the last one is the Orc Street Samurai Sledge. Now, Sledge has become a bit iconic. Catalyst did a statue of the guy, and also we now have this, small scale miniature. I like the fact that they've put a ton of detail into the base. Obviously, there's some rubble on the street that he's standing on. But he's got the cybernetic arm. He's got the katana. All the things that just scream, hey, this is a street samurai, and you're going to get hurt probably. So I will have to touch up the sword a little bit. Little hot water treatment should go ahead and get that all resolved. But overall, this guy held the detail in the face, has the detail there in the right arm. So overall, that this guy is looking really good. I'm I'm probably going to do this one. Like, I'll probably start with the troll, come to this guy, and then play it by ear from there. All right. So we have 5 figures down. But as you can see from the image right above me, I promised a little bit more. Okay? Because one of the issues is that 5 miniatures doesn't really make a product line. So while it may be fun, they definitely need some help. And I think I've found some figures that will work. Hopefully Catalyst will put out some additional Shadowrun figures. Maybe they will find a reason to, maybe a new game, I don't know. But until they do, there are some fantastic miniatures out there. But a couple things I do want to point out that you should keep in mind. First, these are, what I'm going to show next, are not official Shadowrun figures. They did not come from Catalyst Game Labs. While I hope they release more Shadowrun figures at this time, I don't know of any new figures coming. Second, all of the figures that I'm about to show were 3D printed, okay? So I didn't purchase them at a store. I will provide links down below as to where you can find the files for this. But you're going to have to be able to find someone who can print them for you if you do not have a 3D printer yourself. And then finally is the quality of the print. It absolutely depends on how good the person operating the printer is. And luckily I have a friend who, when he printed these out for me, he has a lot of practice with his 3D resin printer, and I think they came out great. So, with that being said, these were all created by the artist Papsikels, which I probably butchered that name, but we're going to go with that. I did purchase them from My Mini Factory, and each model will run between $4 and $6 each. But there are bundles available through his collections, so you can probably get some details that way as well. So, the first one that I'm going to put up is Druktar Taraman, the Troll Street Shaman. Now, I actually have 2 versions of this. The model came with, obviously, the magic effect going on between his hands, but I also have a version where he's just standing there with his hands empty. So that is one thing that is pretty cool about 3D printing, is a lot of times you will get options on the models as opposed to the prime runners where they come fixed. So, if you want something different, you're going to have to start cutting them apart and doing something else. But, overall, he's got some great detail in his face. The chains around his neck. He very, very much reminds me of Lothar the Wise. If you've been following the channel for a while, I did do reviews of all the Shadowrun Duels figures, and this reminds me of Lothar the Wise, even though it is a little bit different, but it's pretty darn close. So I like the figure. I'm excited to see how this one will come out, just because it is something a little bit different. Now, I did also mount these on 1-inch bases from Titan Forge. They are a different 3D modeling producer out there, and they all kind of have sort of a Japanese theme. So I know you won't be able to see it very well in this video, but if you are curious about the bases, that's what it is. I could not find a link to those, unfortunately, so we will have to leave it there. So that is Druktar Taraman. And then next up is Blue Agony, the Elf Rogue. Now, this one definitely has issues on the face. As you can see here, the face is a little washed out. So the print didn't come out that great, but there is all of the detail on the armor or cybernetic plates around her legs and her arms. And I think the details really popped on those. Her hair has some nice texture, the ears poking through it, and you can even see, like, I did hit these with a wash, but you can even see the fingers around the hilts of the knife. At least I hope you can in the video that you're watching. This one, I think, kind of captures a very nice cybernetically enhanced, Shadowrun elf. And, I like that one a lot. All right. Next up is Alphonse Rokmeg, an orc urban samurai is what they called it. This could be a stand-in for Sledge, except he's got a little bit more hair. I believe in the description, they also describe him as ex-military, so they very much captured that. I am not sure why he has 2 full-length katanas, but it does give it an interesting look with the way that he's kind of resting his hand. The print on this one came out really well. The face is really detailed. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen, but the tusks in the mouth even show up pretty well. So, and then again, he's got this cybernetic arm. So overall, not a bad miniature. I like, just kind of like the standard flak jacket, fatigue pants. Overall, I like this. It's a good alternative to a model such as Sledge. Although I like the Sledge one as well. The Sledge gives me more of a street rat kind of, samurai that came up from the streets, whereas as Alphonse kind of gives me the look of, definitely ex-military, bit bigger, bit bulkier, things like that. All right. Next, we've got Sgt Bruce Dwayne, cyber detective. Now, this just screams gumshoe. He's got the revolver. He's got a cigar in his mouth. He's got the cybernetic arm, but he's still got the big trench coat and the fedora. The kind of noir setting for a lot of cyberpunk, really comes out with this guy. And, I wish he was a little more dynamically posed, but even still, the fact that the cigar came out this well on the 3D print is fantastic, and I'm super excited over that one. But yeah, that is Sgt Bruce Dwayne. All right, now the last two, so I've got the Prime Runners. I've got 4 additional heroes, but I needed some bad guys. And as I was flipping through, looking at the catalog, I actually found, now, admittedly, the guy named it pretty darn close. It is a little different, but he called it the Renkaku Red Trooper. And again, needs a little bit more dynamic posing, but it's a red samurai. And, for an idea I have for another video, I absolutely needed some bad guys. And so I had to get some of these as well. So there are a few different versions. I opted for the ones with a more traditional samurai helmet. But these obviously are upgraded and have full, environmental containment. I'm not sure if you can see the detail on the face. I hit them with a wash, but it seemed more to darken the resin as opposed to get in the cracks as well as I would have liked. But you can still see a lot of the detail, a lot of the care that was put into it, and the fact that it does come out on the printer, especially the design texturing at the top of the helmet. I really like what they did there. All right, so that is the Renkaku Trooper, but then I also selected the Renkaku Infantry. So we've got a samurai or a katana and a submachine gun, along with the samurai armor. So overall, I think these came out pretty well. I think the Prime Runners are posed a lot better. They look more action oriented, whereas the 3D prints are, feel much more static, a little more like statues or, just, I don't even want to say just like somebody kind of relaxing, because they don't even look relaxed. They look, almost statuesque, or like they were frozen in time. So I think they are great additions if you want some additional miniatures, if you use miniatures a lot more heavily in your game. But that's up to you. Regardless, I like the fact that people are designing things. There is some expansion so that we get more models, and I'd absolutely love to see more models from Catalyst. I would absolutely pick those up. I'm very happy with the Prime Runners. So, at this point, let's be honest, a lot of Shadowrun games don't run with miniatures. They're not very tactical like a game of Dungeons & Dragons, so they are not necessary for your game. But if you want something fun, if you want a nice representation of some just iconic character types in Shadowrun, I absolutely recommend it. And if you want to expand your line of miniatures, there are all sorts of options out there. These are a few that I recommend, but look around. You'd be surprised at what you can find, because there are all sorts of designers putting out all sorts of things every single day. So, with that being said, I do appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. That is Miniature Monday for Shadowrun Week here on Gaming with ADHD. Do not forget to subscribe so that way you don't miss any of the great Shadowrun content I've got coming later this week. But until then, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.